Okay. Mhm. There are two main reasons why it is difficult to ministry with youth groups, churches, and families equally by 1/3. The first reason is that most of the things are separated between youth and old generations within the church. In most churches I have ministered and have visited, places of worship, fellowship, and other activities are different between youth and old generation. Therefore, it became challenging for young people to connect with adults within the church. The religious separation between the students and adults deepened. Due to this situation, most youth ministers have had no choice but to focus on teenagers. And the second reason is that most teenagers do not have time. In South Korea, most students spend more than 90% of their time in schools and academies. This is not only on weekdays, but on weekends. Teenagers attend church only once a week and have only 1 or 2 hours of a worship service. For this reason, many youth ministers in Korea go to the schools where their youth attend. In there, they talk, fellowship, prayer, and worship. Because of this situation, they have no choice but to devote their time and ministry exclusively to teenagers. Therefore, I think it is essential for ministers to individually devise plans and strategies to solve these problems, and also denominations and church communities have to unite to share ideas and come up with countermeasures. Yeah.
All right, hello, this is Roland Villarreal. To the question, what do you think motivates churches to stay with the 5, 10, and 85 division? Um, I think in some of the churches that I've been involved in, I think they're really oblivious to the fact that there is such a division. I've seen some churches where they do basically break off the youth ministry as if they're a separate entity within the church. And therefore you do have the youth pastor who's pouring into them, but yet they stay kind of they're foreign to the congregation as a whole, so they're not really integrated into the church. They aren't really as, and for at least from my experience, from what I've seen, and even the interactions between the youth and the older senior adults or tenured adults or just any adults, is unless they're part of their family or circle of friends, they're like complete strangers. And that's kind of odd because we're believers in Jesus Christ. It's supposed to be one family, and they should be where we can smile, say hi to each other and all those things. But a lot of times we're like separate. The church that I'm in today, we do worship together, which is a great thing. We make sure that that is part of our ministry. But I do think, kind of like we were talking about earlier, I think some of the things also are that we are kind of traditional, and where we'll do ministry, we'll focus a lot on the student ministry, but not much focus on the brothers and sisters, our older brothers and sisters of both genders, you know. And I like the way the book talked about. I think that's important, especially for the teens that have lost somebody, you know, in their lives, and they can have a mother or father, not necessarily that they're gonna adopt them or something like that, but just having that interaction. I think that's kind of missing. But I think some of the churches are oblivious to this. I think if they would have seen the percentages of how students, the percentage of students that leave the church after they've graduated from high school would be an eye opener. So I do think a lot of this not only is tradition, but I think some of it is that they aren't as privy to the information that's out there and all this research. And I think if they saw that, that would prompt anybody to want to make a change in the ministry. But that's my take on that.
Yeah.